They stole my land. Those were the words that ripped out of my mouth when I saw 42 gleaming cabins sprawled across the property I'd roamed since I was a boy. It was like the world decided my deed was just a piece of paper. The HOA folks paraded around with clipboards, waving documents I'd never laid eyes on, acting like I was the one trespassing on my own dirt. For weeks, I questioned my sanity. Nobody else seemed fazed. It felt like the entire town of Maplewood, Oregon, was laughing at some cruel joke behind my back. What would you have done, standing there, watching a stranger claim your home? My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I own 60 acres of pine-draped land just outside Maplewood, a quiet stretch with a crystal-clear pond and silence you can't buy. It was a crisp Saturday morning in October 2024 when I decided to check the fence line after a big storm. That walk flipped my world upside down. Around a bend, I froze. A pale blue cabin with crisp white trim sat there like a fever dream, complete with concrete steps and electrical lines humming to a shiny new meter. This wasn't here last week. I blinked, thinking I'd lost it. Then I saw another cabin. Then another. By the time I reached the far edge of my land, I'd counted 42 identical structures, each one planted firmly on my property without a whisper of permission. My chest tightened as I snapped photos: foundations, plumbing, polished siding. These weren't pop-up tents. They were permanent homes, built with care and cash. Someone had turned my woods into a suburb while I slept. Permits taped to each door screamed, temporary emergency housing, stamped with official-looking seals, but something was off. The logos were fuzzy, like bad copies, and the permit numbers jumped around like a bad math problem. A truck rumbled down what used to be my hiking trail, now a gravel road carved without my say-so. The driver, a guy in a construction vest named Ryan Mitchell, climbed out with a clipboard and a smile. "Morning. You the county inspector?" he asked, all business. I stared, jaw tight. "I'm the owner. This is my land." His confidence cracked, eyes darting to his papers. "Sir, this is an emergency housing project. County approved. We've been at it for months." I pointed at the nearest cabin. "You built 42 homes with utilities in 4 days? Foundations, wiring, plumbing, all done." He shifted, mumbling about a big crew and tight deadlines. But even he seemed to hear how insane that sounded. I pulled up my deed on my phone, showing him the proof. His face went pale. "Talk to Clara Hensley at the HOA. She signed off on everything," he said, handing me a thick folder of documents. The papers claimed an emergency declaration from 6 months back, but I checked the county website. Maplewood hadn't had an active crisis in ages. Worse, the property was listed under a shell company, Horizon Growth LLC, not my name. Someone had faked ownership records. I photographed every page, my hands shaking, while Ryan watched like a man realizing he'd stepped into a minefield. As I walked back, I noticed the cabins avoided my best trees, hugging the flat land by the pond. Someone had surveyed my property with precision. This wasn't a rush job, it was a calculated land grab. Near one cabin, I found my property's survey marker buried under fresh concrete, deliberately hidden. I called the county clerk, Diane Carter, who confirmed my title was clean and no emergency orders applied to my land. "There's a problem." "All right," I said, staring at the village that had invaded my woods. That night, I spread my deed, maps, and photos across my kitchen table. The evidence screamed fraud: 42 cabins, fake permits, expired declarations. I dug online and learned concrete takes weeks to cure, electrical inspections days. No way this happened in a weekend. Someone had planned this, betting I wouldn't fight back. Monday, I stormed into the county office, where Diane had pulled more records. "Ethan, this isn't just you," she said, sliding over a folder. "I found cases in Pine County and Riverdale. A rancher lost his pasture, a widow her family's meadow. Her files detailed 18 victims across 2 counties, all hit with similar emergency housing scams. The pattern was chilling: fake documents, expired authorizations, and a shell company raking in $900 per cabin monthly." I asked about Clara Hensley. Diane pulled up her profile: president of 3 HOAs, board member of Horizon Growth, and signatory on every fraudulent permit. The web was tightening. I called Mark Thompson, a Pine County victim who'd lost 15 acres. His voice was heavy, tired from months of legal battles. "They built 20 cabins on my farm while I was away," he said. Now families are paying rent to Clara's company while I fight in court. The rental angle hit like a punch, hundreds of thousands in illegal profits. I reached out to other victims, like Emily Park, who described forged permits so convincing she thought the county had messed up. Clara threatened us with lawsuits for questioning her. Emily said, I built a timeline. Pine County's scam took 3 months for 20 units. Riverdale's, 6 weeks for 15. My 42 cabins? For days. The crooks were getting bolder, faster, staying one step ahead of the law. Tuesday, Ryan called, panic in his voice. Ethan, I'm in deep. My contractor license is on every permit. I thought Clara's papers were legit, county seals, signatures, the works. He showed me contracts, $280,000 paid for projects across 3 counties. If authorities pinned this on him, he'd lose his business, maybe face jail. She used specific subcontractors, controlled everything, he said. I thought it was about quality. Now I see she was hiding the fraud. His license was already suspended pending a state probe. Later, he texted me, shaken. Residents cornered me at the site, filming, calling me a thief. I couldn't explain without sounding guilty. I told him to gather every document, contracts, payments, emails. His cooperation could break this open. Wednesday, I met Lauren Hayes, a reporter from the Maplewood Gazette who'd been tracking housing fraud. She walked my land, stunned by the cabin's scale, permanent utilities, landscaped yards. This isn't emergency housing, she said. It's a planned neighborhood. Her research uncovered $500,000 in annual rent flowing to Clara's shell company. At the HOA meeting that night, Clara strutted in, all polish and poise, dismissing misinformation about her projects. I stood, voice steady but loud. Why are 42 cabins on my land without my consent? Her mask slipped for a split second as phones lit up, streaming her silence. Lauren pressed harder. Why use expired emergency declarations? The room erupted, residents shouting, cameras rolling, hashtags exploding online. Clara stormed out, her credibility shredded in real time. Thursday, my insurance company, Pacific Trust, called. Their fraud team had uncovered a massive scheme tied to Clara's projects, affecting policies across 3 counties. This isn't just trespassing, said attorney Rachel Kim. It's insurance fraud. They filed a civil suit, freezing $1 million in Clara's assets, bank accounts, a yacht, a beach condo funded by stolen rent. Photos of her lavish lifestyle hit me hard. My land paid for her cocktails and designer bags. That afternoon, Mark's victim coalition grew to 50 families, including tenants who'd paid deposits for fake homes. At a community center meeting, Lisa Nguyen shared her story. We paid $4,000 to move in, thinking it was legit. Now we're facing eviction. The room filled with photos of lost homes, kids' toys left behind. Then Ryan burst in, showing a video of Clara shredding documents at the HOA office. She's running, he said. Mark called Sheriff Linda Torres, reporting evidence tampering. Deputies swooped in, seizing ledgers and contracts just as Clara's SUV peeled out. Friday, Clara called me, voice dripping with fake calm. Ethan, this is a misunderstanding. Let's settle this quietly. I recorded her, unmoved. This is felony fraud. The courts will handle it. That day, Mark's coalition and Pacific Trust's lawyers met, mapping out a multi-front legal assault. Saturday, Judge Margaret Ellis convened an emergency session. The courtroom buzzed as she ruled. My title was clear. Cabins would be auctioned off, proceeds funding victim restitution. Clara pleaded guilty to felony fraud, sentenced to 5 years, and ordered to pay restitution. Mark's coalition won class action status, ensuring 50 families could recover losses. Ryan's license was reinstated for his cooperation, and Lauren's reporting earned a nod from the judge for exposing the scam. 6 months later, in April 2025, my land was clear again. The cabins were gone, survey markers gleaming under court protection. At a lakeside ceremony, victims lit lanterns, each one a family made whole. A plaque marked the site as fraud-proof, and restitution checks were handed out. Clara's prison sentence and asset seizures sent a message. Property theft isn't a business model. New county rules now require owner verification for any emergency builds. Mark's coalition became a regional watchdog, and contractors like Ryan adopted fraud detection training. Lauren's articles sparked reforms, ensuring no one could exploit emergency systems again. Standing by my pond, watching the sunset, I felt the weight lift. This wasn't just about my land, it was about promises kept, lines defended. Justice isn't one man's fight. It's a community refusing to be silenced. What would you do if someone stole your home overnight? Would you fight like hell or walk away? Could you face a system rigged against you and still win? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more stories of real people fighting back. Stay sharp and guard your lines.